Hi everybody, Jessie here from jessiebanks.com and welcome back to another coloring video. This time I'm completely thrilled to be guesting for the Greeting Farms YouTube channel, and I'm using one of their digital images. This is Cheeky Deco. The fantastic thing about a digital image is you can pick it up now, get it now, print it now, and color it now. I'm such an impatient person that immediacy really makes me excited and happy. So I'm starting just by going in with my E04, and I'm adding in where all of my darkest points will be on the image. When I'm doing this, I am flicking it into the image slightly so that I don't have a perfect line around the outside. I find that it allows my blending to be a lot more smooth and my transitions between colors not to be so harsh and not so difficult for me to blend out. So that's why I'm going about it that way. So this is the second time I colored this image because the first time I wasn't paying attention and I colored her glove skin color, and yeah, it's a glove. So I kind of giggled at that, but that's alright. Printed it again and started over. So now I'm going in with my E13. I find this gives me a really nice warm complexion when I'm finished, and just gives me that extra step in colors as everything's blending out to the lightest shades that I'm going to use. I do add a little bit of a drop shadow underneath of her headband and carry on around, forming out her eyes so that I can make sure that the whites of her eyes will stay white as I'm coloring this. So I'm just slowly flicking those colors in. I do work fairly fast. I've only sped this up to 2 times its original speed. This image took me roughly half an hour to color from start to finish. But it's not a race. I mean, you want your markers to stay, like, your previous color to still not be completely dry when you go over it. I find it just makes blending easier. You definitely can make it blend, it just takes a lot more work. So definitely, like, if you're finding that your colors are hard to blend and being difficult, break it down into pieces. Do the face, then do one arm, then do a leg and the other leg. Do it in sections. You don't have to do it all at the same time, and you might as well make it as easy on yourself as possible. I do color on the Copic Express It blending card. So this is Copic's paper. It's what I learned on. I know lots of people love, like, Nina Solar White. Some people use the Georgia Pacific paper from Walmart. I find that it's probably more whatever you learn on is what you're comfortable on, because I've tried to color on, like, the Nina paper and all that, and while I can get it to work, I just find it a lot more difficult than the Copic paper, but this is what I started with. So I think that has a lot to do with it, is just pick a paper and learn from it. So once I do my E21, I added my cheek color, and I just find that that gives me a nice, it allows me to easily blend it out without having to add another coat of any color to my skin tone. So that's why I added in where I do. I know lots of people wait till the end. That's just, I don't know, not the way I do it, I guess. Coloring's very personal, and as you get going in it and get more comfortable with the markers or color pencils or whatever your chosen medium is for that particular image. If you know me at all, I'm kind of a pigment fiend, and I have everything, and it's ridiculous and absurd, and my son tells me I'm not allowed to buy art supplies anymore, let's put it that way. So I'm going in and I'm using the E40 range for her hair color. So I'm starting off with E41, which is the lightest tone. When I do most of my coloring, I work darkest to lightest so that I can blend those out and get smooth transitions to my light colors. When I'm doing hair, I tend to work lightest to darkest so that I get really defined pieces of hair and strokes. Or defined pieces of hair in my strokes so that I'm not blending it out and ending up with smooth transitions. I want those lines to be very concrete, and that's where I put them in. It's all personal opinions, just like everything else. So I'm just going in and I'm going to add in my lightest color. And the nice thing about starting with your lightest color is you can kind of map it all out, and you can see at the top of her hair, I almost have 2 parts. So you can map that in and change your mind after the fact, which is what I'm going to do, just because of where the 2 sides of her hair to come together at the back with the artist drawn line, and then at the front that part kind of runs on an angle, and I was making it straight at the start. So I just kind of fix it up a little bit as I go in with the darker colors here into E42. So like I said, that's the real nice thing about starting with your lighter colors, is to make the changes as to where the parts or shadows or anything like that is very easy to do when you're starting with your lightest color. Even if you're unsure on your clothes and stuff, when you're coloring, say something like a blue, if you go in with a really, really light blue shade and kind of mark in where you want to put all of those shadows, if you decide that, you know, that should be a highlight and not a shadow, or it should be a mid-tone and not a shadow, it's not a big deal because you're starting with a really light color, so you can go over top of it, absolutely no problem. So we're just carrying on. When I do her hair here, I do jump to 49 and then back to 47. I wasn't sure if I was going to add E47 in, and I just decided I needed it after the fact. So that's why that happened. But I love this little image. Like I said, I love the entire Cheeky series over at the Greeting Farm. I think they're absolutely fantastic. So E43 is our next color, and as I'm going through, my strokes are just becoming a little bit shorter than they were previously, so that you can see those lighter colors in behind them. I'm not pulling it out quite as far. I paused there. I don't know. My son was probably talking to me or was watching the TV. You never really know. I didn't notice that. There, I took the second cap, like the cap off the back end. I had just refilled this marker not long ago, and I think I overfilled it a little bit. The tip was starting to get really, really juicy, and I didn't want it to drip on the rest of the image. When you find that your tip looks really, really wet or looks like it's going to drip or something like that, if you pull off the back cap, it helps equalize the pressure inside of the marker, and you don't get that drip. So that's a really good trick to keep in the back of your mind, because sometimes they come, when you purchase them, they come and they're really, really juicy like that too. And if you pop off that the back of the marker, like the other end, it won't drip on you, which is awesome. The hair took me the longest on this entire image. With a lot of the Greeting Farm images, that's the way it is, just because their heads are so large and their bodies are so tiny. And I love them, and I need to color more of them because I have a ridiculous collection of them that have not been stamped yet. I apologize with that. I don't know. I have another video coming for you guys here on the Greeting Farm channel too, and I have not decided what image I'm going to color. Maybe I'll do one of the mermaids or something for you. But yeah, so now I'm going in with E44, and this is where you can really see the dark points starting to come onto the image, and I'm making my lines a lot thinner, and I'm not putting nearly as much pressure onto my marker as I'm flicking it in. I find that this color gets sticky a lot easier. There's certain colors in my Copics that I have that tend to get dirty and seem to be sticky a lot sooner than others, and this is one of them that seems to do that to me quite a bit. So I clean this marker like every time or every other time that I use it. And this is where I'm really kind of setting in stone where that part is going to be in the top of her hair, because this E44 is drastically darker than the E43 is. I don't know if you guys can hear my son or not. He's in my bedroom and I can hear him through the wall here, so I hope the microphone's not picking that up. Carrying on through, almost finished with this color, and then I jumped to the E49 because that's where I wasn't sure that I was even going to bother with the E47, and once I realized how dark that E49 actually is, it's like, nope, we need that little bit of a softer color yet before. The nice thing about the Greeting Farm images is they have a lot of hair, but you're given a lot of direction as to where the folds and creases and mountains and valleys in the hair are. It's not just like a big dome shape and you have to make it up as you go along. There's lots of artist drawn direction as to how the hair should be colored, which makes everything a whole lot easier. So we're just going to go through and add in our darker colors here. The rest of this image will go fairly fast after because I just used red and white. She's got a red dress and then it's like white and grays for her headband and her gloves and things like that. So super duper simple. What? I don't know if you guys can hear him, but he's so funny. Oh. Not sure what else to talk about with the hair. I don't want to keep repeating myself. You can see how when I'm adding in this really dark color, I'm not pulling it very far into the rest of the image at all. I don't want to lose all of the depth I've achieved with the other colors already by going over top of everything with this, because then I pretty much have to start over again. And you can see how drastic the change is between where this E49 ends and the next color starts, and that's why I decided I needed to go back in with that E47 here right away. So now that's the E47. And I'm not going all the way to the, to where the root of the hair would be with this. I'm just pulling it out that little bit just to make that transition just slightly more smooth. And run through that, and then we're going to go in, and I do believe we do the white next. So that's the hair. Now I'm going to do my white, and I use my warm grays, so I do use W3, W1, and W00. So I'm going to do her mitts, and these are the feathers. You could color them as leaves if you wanted as well. I went with them being kind of like feathers, so I made them white. And W1 is our next color. Mr. Gloves. And then W0 to fill in the rest of it. So I've been really trying to work on my reds so that they don't come off and look pink. And for this image I decided to use my W7 and W5 marker just to put in those darkest shadows before we add in the reds so that my lightest red isn't a pink anymore. If that makes sense. I don't want to take it like I did I used E20 or R29, 27, and 24, and I didn't use 22 and 20 because they're quite pink. They're no longer a red just because of how pale of a color they are. So I was hoping, and it worked, that the W7 and the W5 was going to give me enough depth. Well, I used R89 as well, sorry about that. Was going to give me enough depth on the color so that it didn't just look all washed out and it had a bit of dimension to it, and it seemed to work. I was quite pleased with the way it turned out, so that was nice. That was my phone. Sorry about that. Then we'll go in with the R29. And it's still kind of difficult to see because it looks quite gray, just because you're putting it over top of all those gray colors. But as you get further into it, it really does come to life. R27. This is where you can really see it looking red. Whereas by this point, normally it would start to look pink already. Oh, kitty cat. And R24 to fill in the rest, which is our lightest color. So then I'm just going to go in and do some of the grays, and I'm using, I do believe I start with W7, oh, W5, W3, and W1 for that. So once I finish that, that's the end of the coloring. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye for now.